Hello. It's me, Andrine, your Jewish American Priestess, here for another Hebrune reading. Today is the first day of Elul, and it is celebrated as the New Year of the Animals. And we have many animal skins here today. I have a drum made out of a goat skin, and I have a rattle that I believe is made out of a deer skin and sinew. And we have two shofarot. And these are the things we're going to be choosing from today in terms of what we are reading. I have the white shofar, and it looks like this. It's made out of a ram's horn, a kosher animal. And it sounds like this. And we have the black shofar, and it looks like this. Another ram's horn, a different ram clearly, and it sounds like this. So, take a minute to feel into which of these rams are calling to you today. The white ram's horn and the black ram's horn. And I'll put the timestamps down below so that you can choose which ram's horn is appropriate for you on this reading, the first of Elul, the New Year of the Animals. Alright, for those of you who've chosen the white ram's horn today, I'm going to set this up here and we're going to do a Hebrew reading for you for the new month of Elul and for the days of the shofar. So we play the shofar every day in the month of Elul. And again, like I said, today is the New Year of the Animals, when the animals were counted for the tithing purposes, but we can celebrate animals in any way we like today. So celebrate the animals in your life, including your animal self. That's an important one, in my humble opinion. Okay, so we're going to start with 3 letters today. The first one coming out on the left is the letter Bet. I'm going to zoom this in just a minute. The second letter that's in the center is the letter Samech. And let's see what we get for number 3. We have the letter Yud. Alright, let me zoom these in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Try to keep your shofar in sight as well, at least the shadow of the shofar. Sounds like the name of a novel or something. Okay, so today we have 3 letters, and the central letter that you have in your reading is the letter Samech. Samech is about a circle. It's about cycles and circles. It's about being surrounded with protection. In the Paleo Hebrew, it was the thorn, and so we think about Samech as something that surrounds and protects us. It can also be a little thorny. It can be an agitation in our life. So something is up right now where you are needing protection, wanting protection, feeling protected, or feeling a little bit of a thorniness in your situation right now. And what came right before that is the letter Bet. And Bet is about the house, it's about the home, it's about possibly your body being the home of your soul. And it has the binary of life and death in it. So maybe a choice that you've had to make about choosing to live, choosing to be comfortable in your body, choosing to rest perhaps. Bet rules over the day Shabbat in our Sefer Yetzirah linking of the heavenly bodies to each of the letters. So Bet has to do with Shabbat, which was just yesterday, so that makes sense. And it has to do with rest. And since the body is the home of the soul, perhaps you've had to choose to rest, choose your own life, and taking care of yourself at this time. And the home is also a protective place, so that's what's arrived, is you've got a home, and now you're in a protective phase, or this idea of cycles and circles. We're in the end of the annual cycle of the Hebrew year, so it may have to do with just that cycling and circling that's happening right now in our lives. And that's where we are right now. And then in the near future, we have the letter Yud. And the letter Yud is the smallest of the Hebrew letters, but it also is incredibly meaningful. One might notice that each of the Hebrew letters has a Yud in it. It usually starts with a Yud and then moves into some other shape. So it's that beginning of all things. It is the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He, and it is the number 10 in Gematria. So it has to do with the hand. Yad is a hand, and I'm going to try not to block the light here as I go. So Yad is a hand, and so it has to do with action a little bit in the world, what you might do to work. It could have to do with power, authority, even suppression. And it has to do with the number 10. So there are many 10s in the Torah. You've got the 10 tests of Abraham. You've got the 10 expressions of creation. You've got the 10 things that were created on the first day. The 10th day is Yom Kippur, the 10th day of Tishrei, which is coming up in just next month. And we give a 10th of all to tithe. And today is that time of the year where we count our animals so that we can give 1/10 to charity, to tzedakah, for giving to those who are needy, especially the widow and the orphan and the stranger. We are called to do that. In this week's Torah portion, it talked about that. There are the 10 Sephirot, the 10 emanations of the divine, the 10 plagues, of course, and the 10 commandments. It also represents Elul. So really wonderful that Yud came up today, because it does represent this actual month and the constellation of Virgo in the sky. And as far as foundations are concerned, like I said, this is the foundation of life and death. This is the foundation of agitation, and Yud is the foundation of sexuality. So we've got something coming up that may have to do with, again, more body stuff, sexuality. It could have to do with just the month of Elul, and this seed. We've got this seed right now as we're planting our intentions to move into Teshuvah. So we're starting to look at our behaviors. We're starting to look at the things that we might want to change as we move forward into Elul and toward Rosh Hashanah. When we get to Yom Kippur, ideally, we will have resolved and taken action toward the things that we would like to clear up before we move into the new year. And the month of Elul, which is just, again, starting today, is related to the tarot card of the Hermit, and this whole idea of sitting in silence, not to be antisocial, but to take the time to choose to take a spiritual retreat, whatever that looks like to you, in order to figure out what it is that you need to complete before we get to the end of this year. So that's coming up in the near future. And I'm just going to get a little bit more clarity about this center letter here of Samach. I'm going to move our shofar up just a hair, and I'm going to pull out 2 letters and see if they can offer us any more clarity about this protection and surrounding that we're doing right now. And the first letter we pulled out is the letter Mem. That's nice. And the second letter I'm pulling out is the letter Tav. Okay, so Mem, so what's on the upper line here is that which is going to help us as we're in this phase. So right now the Mem has to do with gestation. So it's a mother letter. It is the letter that represents Mayim Chaim, which is the waters of life. So if you look at it, it looks like a container, and it's representative of a womb. So we have this period of gestation that we're just entering into with Elul, and we are bathing in these waters. We're being gestated in the waters of life. Possibly also maybe taking mikvah, if that feels right, to do a cleanse right now of our bodies and of our minds and of our souls as we prepare to go into Rosh Hashanah. So Mem is here to help us, and it is that idea of water, of life, of that well that followed us through the desert. It is the number 40 in the Gematria, which represents the 40 weeks of gestation. And again, it's one of the mother letters in the Sefer Yetzirah. It's one of the creation letters. So we have Aleph, which is air, Mem, which is water, and Shin, which is fire. And so this represents the water part, and the water part is the foundation, right? It's the basic thing out of which all life arose. So we have, and it's the belly in the body, so where the uterus or the womb exists in people who have uteruses. And the water can also be seen as Torah, so the Torah is referred to as the waters of life in our tradition. So let's take some time to focus on gestation. Take some time to get ready to birth whatever it is we are birthing as we move into the new year. Maybe it's a new attitude, maybe it's a new habit, maybe it's a better relationship with ourselves and our divine and our families and friends. And what is on the lower line today is the letter Taf. Now, Taf is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, so it represents endings and conclusions, and it's just like a seal or a stamp that is put on the end of a thing. So what is on the lower line, it's what's not going to help us. So what's not going to help us right now is think, well, we're all done. We're finished here, so we don't need to do anything more. Tav is the last letter in the word emet. We've got the mem here and the tav here, which are two of those letters, and it means truth. So we've got this idea of the middle. We're in the middle part. We're coming close to the end, but we're not quite there yet. So don't be afraid of the ending, but also don't believe that you're already there. You're not already there yet. We've got a whole nother month. And Tav represents the binary of sovereignty and slavery. So I would say grasp for your sovereignty and release that idea of being enslaved. We can self-examine, but we do not have to beat ourselves up, and we do not have to make ourselves be enslaved to anyone else or anything else. We just need to hold on to what is sovereign in our life. In the celestial bodies, Tav rules over the moon. So as we are walking into this new moon right now, today, we have Tav representative here. But again, we're not at the finish line yet. We are right now just in this gestation period. We are being surrounded with protection and feeling that agitation that may be saying to us, let's change what's not working. And when we do that, when we gestate on that, and we don't just rush toward the ending here, we can move into this time of Elul with confidence, where we know what we're doing is important and the work will get done appropriately. And I'm going to just pull out one more letter here today. I just want to see one more thing as we move a little bit into the future. And I don't know if we'll need any more after this, but let's start with one more. I'm just curious about what's coming after the Yud. And what I'm seeing, what's coming after the Yud is Pei. Okay. And Pei is about communication. It's a mouth. It is, it's also a spiral. So it's got this, this idea of infinity behind it, because it is the number 80 in Gematria. And 80 is the ultimate manifestation of 8. And 8 is a representation of the infinite, because 8 is one more than 7. 7 is the number of days of creation. And so anything beyond 7 is going to be infinite. And this is 10 times that, so we've got this ultimate infinity that's happening here. So as we have taken care of our bodies and rested at Shabbat. And we're moving into this time, we're in this time right now of being surrounded and protected, maybe a little agitated as we move toward our idea of Teshuvah. It would be good to focus on gestation, good to focus on just that taking in the waters of life, whatever that looks like to you, getting hydrated for sure, maybe taking a mikveh, maybe visiting the ocean or a lake. I don't know what would work for you, but bathing in that comfort that is the maternal gestation womb, and let go of the idea that we're finished, and that will bring us into this fullness of Elul, the seed which we are nurturing right now with the water in order to burst forth into the infinite as we come into the next phase of where we are. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you sharing this if it's resonant for you. I'm going to take your beautiful white shofar, back it out here again, and I'm going to give it one blast so that you can hear the sound of the shofar. It's a mitzvah, and we'll see you next time. Chodesh Tov. Okay, for those of you who chose the black shofar today for your reading, we're going to pull out some letters and we're going to tell you what is coming up for you for this month of Elul. And I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so we can get a good picture of the letters while maybe still keeping the shofar in the picture. Okay, let's start with 3. We're going to go left to right and then maybe grab a couple extras as we need clarity. All right, the first letter that is coming out today is going to be the central issue, and that is the letter, it's the blank one, so it's Ein Sof, which I completely 100% love. I love this letter so much, the letter that is no letter. To the left we have the letter Pei, interesting, and to the right of that we're getting the letter Yud. Wow, these are very similar to the last reading, but this is what's up right now. So our central issue right now is the letter, well, the letter that is no letter. That's Ein Sof. Ein Sof is that which has no end. So it's about eternity. It's about blankness, the unknown, the unknown unknowns, those things which we cannot know. But it's also that the fabric out of which all things are made. So if you think about creation and what existed before creation, which is how can that even be a thing, we have this idea that the divine existed before creation, and then creation came into being, but the only way that could happen was for this contraction of the divine, so that there would be space to create something. And then what do you create it out of? There is nothing but the divine, so everything is created from the divine. And that's what this represents to me, this tohu vavohu, the void, the formless void. And that's where we are right now, interestingly, because here we are in the month of Elul, the first of Elul today, and it is that day, it is that month where there are no holidays. There's nothing that happens here. All we're doing is preparing for the new year, which is coming up. And the first of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, is the birthday of the world. So we are in this phase where there is nothing. We are in that, the divine hovered above the nothingness before creation happened, before the speech into existence that happened, where the divine said, "Let there be light," the Bereshit. So here we are in this space of nothingness, but there's so much potential, right? There's so much potential that's happening right now as we prepare to come into Rosh Hashanah. We might not even see it's happening. We may see like, oh, there's blank, there's nothing, there's just nothing happening. But in fact, there's so much happening because the potential for everything is right there. Everything. So that's where we are right now. some people find it boring, some people find it, uninteresting, but I think it's fascinating and exciting as everything, because it is everything. There's potential for everything. So congratulations on getting the Ein Sof. Congratulations on having the blank Hebrune come up for you today. And then what came right before that, interestingly, is the letter Pei. And the letter Pei represents a mouth, and it also represents a spiral. You can see that it spirals around. And it is the number 80 in Gematria. And 80 in Gematria represents the ultimate manifestation of the infinite. So 8 is 1 more than 7. 7 is the number of days of creation. So 1 more than 7 is 8. And 10 times 8 is the ultimate manifestation of 8. So here we have the infinite again. And it is this mouth. It is said to be a mouth, the mouth of the divine, speaking the world into existence. And if you look carefully, you can sort of see inside, you could fit the letter Beit. The letter Beit is the first letter of the Torah, Breshit, in the beginning. And so it's got all this creation energy as well. The letter Pei is it's got again so much about communication. It's got so much about speech, about the ability to speak your world into existence. It is like I said, the number 80, and just to understand that you create your own world the way you speak. So we are made of divine stuff, because there was nothing but divinity when creation happened. In our mythology, in our understanding of creation, we don't know what happened before that. So this understanding of that we have this ability, because we are made of God stuff, we have the ability to create our realities as we speak. So it's about speech, it's about presence, it's about again just the idea of creating truth. It's about again, this spiraling that goes infinitely in and infinitely out, the macrocosm and the microcosm. So having come from that into this era of nothingness, this era of just void, null and void, the tohu vavohu, we are now moving forward into the next manifestation, which is Yud. And Yud is that one point. It is the one point out of which all things were created, like the Big Bang. This one point that just went psh, and all things came into being. So we have this potential, again, from the nothingness to one seed, which then can burst forth into everything. So, and interestingly, Yad is hand, but the letter Yud is the number 10, and it is the month of Elul. So that today is the first of Elul, and this seed is here for us as we step into Elul. It is about the foundation of sexuality in the Sefer Yetzirah. It rules over the constellation Virgo, which is right now, and the month of Elul. All the manifestations of 10 that come out of the Torah are affiliated with this. The 10 tests of Abraham, the 10 expressions of creation, the 10 things created on the first day, the tithe of the 10th of the animals that we're counting today as we look at the New Year of the Animals, the 10 Sephirot of the Tree of Life, the 10 plagues in Egypt, the 10 commandments, just so many 10s. And the hand that is action. So the month of Elul is about Yud. It's about that seed that has that potential for growth. And it also has to do with action. The things that we need to do to correct in our lives in order to move forward clean into the new year. That could be, giving tzedakah if that's important to you. If you have to make something, you have to repair something in your home. Perhaps your mezuzah is not kosher, or perhaps you just have some things you need to clean up around your yard before summer ends. Whatever it is you need to do with your hands, action in the world before Rosh Hashanah. This is the time to do it, in this blank space, in this time of Elul. when we are moving forward. And again, like I said, it has to do with the foundation of sexuality. So if you have some things to clean up in your life around sexuality, whether it's with a partner or an ex-partner, or even with yourself or with the divine, do that now too. Clean up all the stuff that needs to be cleaned up before we get into Rosh Hashanah. And I'm going to pull out a couple more letters today just to clarify some of the concepts that are coming up today, because I am curious to see what is going to help us in this time of blankness and void. And that letter is the letter Aleph. Lovely. And what might not help us, or what should we stay away from right now? And that is the letter Samech. Okay, start with those two. So Aleph is, of course, the first letter. And interestingly, it is, in Paleo Hebrew, the head of a cow. It's cattle. It's about wealth. And it's about worth, having to do with wealth and worth because of that. So focus on your own worth right now when you're in this period of time. Do not fall back into old habits of feeling worthless. That will not help you. But instead focus on your own worth. And if you notice, the Aleph is made up of a Vav and two Yuds. We have a Yud in the upper right corner, which represents the heaven or the divine, and we've got a Yud in the lower left corner, which represents earth or humanity. And in the middle we have a Vav, and Vav is a letter that means and. It's connection, so it's heaven and earth. And so within the letter Aleph we have a lot of symbolism. We have the Yud above, the Yud below, the slanted Vav, connecting and separating. So it's important to have these boundaries, right? We can't be everywhere all at once. We can't be everything all the time. So knowing where that boundary is between both heaven and earth and yourself and others and so on and so forth, although we are all connected, there in that oneness, there still is this distinction at this point in our lives in this plane. So the letter one, the letter Aleph means number one, right? So it's the number one. It's the oneness of all things. But if you pronounce it Aleph, it is 1,000. So again, an ultimate manifestation of one. But that paradox of multiplicity within unity. So there's the oneness of the divine, the oneness of all and all things and all people, and the multiplicity of all the parts of everything. So for instance, we are made up of atoms, and within us there are as many atoms as there are stars in the universe, and each of those stars is made up of atoms, and it's just like mind-boggling as you look at like the images coming in from the new telescope. So you know, Aleph is this pictograph about divinity and humanity, about oneness and manyness. It has to do with both connecting and separating. It's this plurality, but it's also one of the mother letters. So we have three mother letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin. Aleph represents breath. So it's one of the creation, it's air, so it's one of the creation letters. And so we have this breath that's in our body. It keeps us alive. It is representative of that. It has to do with the chest in the body physically. And it's the air in the world. So it's that space where we exist. Mem is the water, and that's below us. We can't live in the water, although we need water to live. And Shin is the fire above, the sun, the stars, the moon, etc. We can't live there either. We need to live in the air. And so we've got this special space that is Aleph, that is the air where we exist right now. And so it's this balancing space between the fire and the water where we live. And that's the thing to focus on right now as we're looking at this blank time, this emptiness, is to focus on our breath, because that is the thing that we have always with us when we are alive. So take some time this month, in the month of Elul, to breathe. Take some time to enjoy the breath. Sit in meditation, if that is part of your practice, even for a minute or 2 minutes. If you are feeling stressed out, take a deep breath, count to 3, release it, count to 3. This breath will center you and bring you back into connection and into a stable place where you are, even when you're feeling blank and alone and lost, breath will ground you. Breath is the thing that would be the most helpful right now in this time. And it is, yeah, I'm trying to think, what else do I need to tell you about Aleph? It's like all things are made of God, as I said. All things are made of divinity from this base stuff, the stuff that is godness or divinity. And these channels that are carved as letters here in this instance are the channels through which that divine energy runs. And breath is one of the ways that carving happens. So focus on breath, focus on Aleph when you're feeling lost, when you're feeling like you're not sure what to do. If you're bored even, just focus on the breath. That'll bring you through. And what isn't going to help us right now on the lower line is Samech. And Samech is a container. It's a circle and it's a cycle. It has to do with circles and cycles and seasons. So we're in the summer season, but we're not done with it. We shouldn't finish out the season yet. It has to do with being surrounded and supported, and so there may be a concern on the bottom line. Sometimes it means that you're afraid, that you don't have the support, that you don't have that protection that you need right now. Everything's just feeling like nothing to grab onto because there's nothing there in the center. But the Samech, so don't be afraid that you don't have support. Bring yourself up to your breath. We know that when we take a breath, that we are supported. We're supported by divinity. We're supported by the trees that are producing the oxygen and having this connection and transaction between us and the plants. So we have that. So don't be afraid of the lack of support you might feel in this blank space. Instead, bring yourself back up to the breath. And don't be agitated. So the foundation of Samech is agitation. And it can be a protective agitation. It can be a happy agitation, but sometimes it's just agitation. Sometimes it's just like, I feel, stressed out or agitated, or there's a lot of pressure to get ready for whatever this, that, or the other thing, Rosh Hashanah, for instance, if that's something you celebrate. The end of the year, the end of the summer, as we get into the school year, etc., there's a lot of agitation that happens. So don't focus on the agitation. Breathe. When you're in this agitated state, bring yourself back up to the breath. That will get us through this blank spot and into the time of gestation with this seed, this time where we are nurturing a seed that will become the new year. So we've got the Yud, which is the month of Elul, this whole month of Elul, this whole blank month to focus on to get us through to the new year. I'm going to pull out one more letter here just to see what's coming right afterwards and give us something to look forward to. And the letter that's coming out of the bag is the letter Kaf. Kaf is a hand. Is a palm of a hand, rather say. So it's interesting. You've got the hand here, and you've got the palm of the hand here. And Kaf is about giving and receiving. So you have this time coming up where there will be a giving and receiving, an exchange of some sort. That hand will open up into a palm, and that palm will be there to receive. And also, this has to do with power, the potential for power. So you've got the potential here with Yud, and the Chaf is about Koach, which is power. And it can be a positive thing or a negative thing. We're hoping that it's going to be positive. Use your power for good, not for evil. It is the it is the letter that in the Sefer Yetzirah rules over the sun in the sky. So that's pretty powerful. It's the binary letter that represents wealth or poverty. So again, that giving and receiving. So I think it may have to do with tzedakah. It may have to do with making sure that you give what is appropriate for you to give, but also be willing to receive what is being given to you, so that you have that balance, that balance in that exchange, that you are neither hoarding your wealth nor staying impoverished when that's not necessary. So if you have something that you need to give, please give it. And if you have something that you need to receive, please take this time to receive it. This is, a lot about Yom Kippur. This is a lot about Rosh Hashanah and the practices that we have in this tradition around Yom Kippur and tzedakah. But yeah, so when we're in this, we've just come out of this time period where things have been spoken into existence. There's been some kind of communication that's happened. We are now in this blank time when we are preparing or not sure what we're doing. We need to focus on our breath, focus on the connection between the heaven and the earth, focus on that paradox of unity within multiplicity and multiplicity within unity. Don't focus on the agitation and the stress. Instead, breathe, sit, meditate. It'll get us through this blank time into the month of Elul, where we are planting a seed that will then burst forward into manifestation. That hand will open and we'll be able to give and receive appropriately. And that is your reading for the new moon of Elul, the new year of the animals. And I'm going to sound this shofar one more time for you and wish you a Chodesh Tov. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.